The ruins were silent until he heard a whisper. A girl stood there, hidden under a dark cloth. Her voice shook as she said, "I'm not clean." The human froze. What did she mean? Her hands trembled, holding the cloth tightly as if she feared the world would see what lay beneath. The wind blew hard. The fabric almost slipped. For a second, he saw a faint glow under her skin. His heart pounded. Was it beauty or a curse? She lowered her head, whispering again, "If you see the truth, you will never look at me the same." And in that moment, the human's breath stopped. The ruins were quiet, broken stones standing like memories of an old world. The human walked carefully between them, his boots brushing against dust that had not been moved in years. The air was strange here, heavy with silence, almost as if the place was waiting for something to happen. He was alone, or at least he thought so. Then, a soft sound reached his ears. It was not the wind. It was not the stones. It was a whisper. He stopped. His eyes searched the shadows. Between the cracked walls and fallen pillars, he saw her. A girl, or at least she looked like one. She was standing very still, her body wrapped in a long, dark cloth that hid her shape. The cloth covered her head too. Only a faint line of her face was visible beneath it. Her lips moved again, and the human heard words so quiet that he almost thought he imagined them. "I'm not clean," she whispered. The human blinked, unsure if she was speaking to him. The girl did not look up. Her head remained bowed, her fingers clinging to the cloth as if it were her only shield. He took a slow step forward. His heart beat faster, not from fear, but from something else, curiosity, maybe even concern. She looked fragile, like a secret that did not want to be uncovered. "What do you mean?" he asked gently. Her body stiffened. For a moment, he thought she would run away, but she did not move. Instead, her voice came again, trembling, almost breaking. "I'm not clean. You should not be here." The human frowned. She sounded more sad than dangerous. There was no anger in her words, only pain, as if she carried a weight too heavy for her alone. A breeze moved through the ruins, and the edge of her cloth lifted slightly. Just for an instant, he saw a glow beneath it, faint, soft, like hidden fire under skin. His breath caught. It was not something human. She pulled the cloth tighter quickly, turning away from him. Her whisper came again, sharper this time. "You must not look. If you see, you will not understand." But the human did not step back. His eyes stayed on her, full of questions. He had traveled many places, met many beings, but never one like her. Why was she hiding? What did she mean when she said she was not clean? The girl turned slightly, just enough for him to notice the tremble in her hands. She was afraid. Not of him, perhaps, but of herself. "Why are you alone here?" he asked softly. She did not answer at once. Her silence stretched, and the ruins seemed to grow colder. Finally, she whispered again, this time with a sound of sorrow. "Because I do not belong anywhere. They left me. They said I am not pure. I am not like them." Her words were simple, yet heavy. The human felt a pull in his chest, a sadness that was not his own. She was not only hiding, she was rejected. The wind blew stronger, and once again the cloth shifted. The faint glow returned, for half a heartbeat, dancing across her skin before it vanished beneath the dark folds. His eyes widened, and his heart raced. Whatever she was hiding, it was something both beautiful and frightening. She heard his breath change and whispered quickly, "Do not look at me. If you see, you will never look at me the same again." Her voice was so soft, so broken, that it pierced deeper than any scream. The human wanted to speak, to tell her that he was not afraid, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he took another step closer, careful, gentle. The girl shook her head under the cloth. "No. Stay away. You cannot help me. No one can. I am not clean." The ruins seemed to listen, her words echoing faintly against the stones. The human realized this moment was not about danger, it was about truth. Something was hidden under that cloth, something she believed made her unworthy, untouchable. And yet, he could not turn away. His voice came calm, steady. "You are not alone now." For the first time, the girl raised her head slightly. He could not see her eyes fully, but he felt them searching his face, looking for a lie. The glow beneath the cloth flickered once more, faint but unmistakable. As if the secret itself wanted to escape, she clutched the fabric tighter, her voice breaking into the quiet air. If the cloth falls, if you see me, your heart will stop. The human's breath trembled in his chest. He did not know if her words were a warning or a truth, but in that instant, he could not look away. His world had narrowed to her voice, her secret, and the fragile space between them. And though he did not yet understand why, he knew one thing clearly. Whatever was hidden beneath that cloth was about to change everything. The night sky hung above the ruins like a blanket of stars. But inside the broken walls, the air felt heavier with every passing moment. The human stood still, watching the girl who kept herself wrapped so tightly in her cloth that even the wind seemed unable to move it now. Her words lingered in his mind, soft but powerful. I'm not clean. He wanted to ask her again what it meant, but her silence carried a warning. Her shoulders trembled as though she carried an invisible weight, and when she finally spoke again, her voice was even softer, almost like the sound of falling sand. They left me here, she whispered. They said I was a danger to them, to everyone. The human's eyes narrowed with concern. She did not seem dangerous, not to him. She seemed more like someone abandoned, pushed away because of something she never chose. He wanted to step closer, but she raised her hand quickly, as if to keep distance between them. No, she said, her voice firm but still trembling. Do not come closer. If they see me with you, they will not forgive you. They do not want me to touch anyone. They do not even want me to breathe the same air. The human's heart sank at her words. What kind of people could throw her away like this? He wanted to tell her she was wrong, that she was not what she believed herself to be. But something in her tone told him she would not accept it easily. A faint sound echoed in the ruins. It was not the wind this time. The girl's head turned sharply toward the shadows, her entire body tightening under the cloth. The human followed her gaze, but saw nothing, only empty stone corridors stretching into the dark. Her whisper grew urgent. They are near. Who? He asked, his voice low. The ones who cast me out, she breathed. They never stop watching. If they find me, if they find you, it will end badly. The human frowned. He could not understand. If she was so unwanted, why would they still search for her? What was she hiding that made her both feared and hunted? The sound came again, clearer this time, like footsteps pressing against stone. The girl pulled her cloth tighter, shrinking back into the wall as if she wanted to disappear. You must go, she whispered. Leave me. Forget you ever saw me. It is safer for you. But the human shook his head slowly. Something deep inside him resisted the idea of walking away. He had seen her tremble, heard the sadness in her voice, and even if he did not understand her secret, he knew she did not deserve to be alone in it. I won't leave you, he said quietly. Her head tilted slightly, and for the first time he felt her eyes truly on him, hidden though they were behind the shadow of the cloth. There was disbelief in her silence, as if no one had ever said those words to her before. Why? She whispered after a long pause. Why would you stay? I am not like you. I am not clean. The word carried pain, as if she had spoken it too many times before. The human searched for the right reply, but before he could speak, the footsteps grew louder. She pressed herself closer to the wall, panic flickering in her voice. They are here. They will take me, and if you stay, they will take you too. The human listened carefully, trying to measure how close the sounds were. The ruins seemed to breathe with hidden life, each echo rolling like a warning. He looked back at the girl. She was clutching her cloth so tightly her knuckles turned pale. Her whole body seemed ready to vanish if it could. Without thinking too much, he reached out his hand, open and steady. Come with me, he said simply. Her head shook fast, almost desperately. No, you don't understand. If they see us together, they will call you what they call me. They will say you are unclean too. But the human did not move his hand away. His eyes were steady, calm, and for a moment the girl just stared at him in disbelief. She had been told all her life to hide, to cover, to accept that no one would ever stand beside her. And here was someone offering a hand instead of turning away. The sound of movement grew nearer. Dust fell from the ruined ceiling as if even the stones were aware of the approach. the girl's breath quickened, her body trembling harder. At last, her cloth shifted slightly as she moved closer. She did not take his hand fully, but her fingers brushed against his palm, light and uncertain. Like a question, the glow returned for an instant, hidden beneath the folds of her covering, and the human's heart quickened. He did not know if it was light, energy, or something else entirely, but it was unlike anything he had ever seen. She pulled back quickly, covering herself tighter once more, whispering almost in fear, "Now you see why I said those words. This is the reason I can never be close to anyone." The footsteps stopped, somewhere in the shadows. The ruins fell silent again, but the air carried tension, like the pause before a storm. The human stood beside her, refusing to step away. He could feel her fear, her shame, and yet also a strange strength hidden beneath it all. His heart beat faster, not from the danger around them, but from the mystery she carried within her. Whatever truth lay beneath that cloth, he knew he could not leave without finding it. The ruins had grown colder as the night stretched on, and the human could feel the air tighten with every sound that echoed in the distance. The girl still stood close to the wall, her dark cloth wrapped around her as if it were the last thing keeping her together. Her words kept replaying in his mind, "I'm not clean." They were simple words, but they carried the weight of a lifetime. He wanted to ask again what she truly meant, but something told him the answer would not come easily. Her voice, her fear, her trembling hands, none of them belonged to someone who wished to hurt. They belonged to someone trying to hide, someone running from something far greater than him. The sound of movement in the ruins grew softer for a while, as though whoever was out there had chosen a different path. The girl listened carefully, her head tilted slightly, her breath slow but uneven. Finally, she looked back toward the human and whispered, "You should not have stayed. You will regret it." Her words were meant as a warning, but the human only shook his head. "No," he said calmly, "I don't regret it." Something flickered in her hidden face, as though those words unsettled her even more than the footsteps had. She looked away quickly, clutching her cloth tighter, but the fabric shifted slightly. The edge of it slipped from her shoulder, and, for a brief instant, the glow returned, brighter this time, running in a thin line across her skin like fire trapped under glass. The human's breath caught. It was not ugly nor frightening. It was strange, yes, but also beautiful in a way that made him forget the cold ruins around them. The light pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. The girl noticed his eyes and quickly pulled the cloth back into place, her voice sharp with fear. "Do not look. I told you, if you see, you will never forget. You will never think of me the same." But the human did not look away. His voice was steady, gentle. "You're wrong. I don't see what you think. I see." Her fingers tightened on the cloth, almost tearing into it. She shook her head. "You don't understand. This is not beauty. This is what they hate. This is why I am not allowed near them. These marks, this light, they say it is a curse." The ruins seemed to listen to her confession, the shadows pressing closer as if carrying her sorrow. The human stepped a little nearer, though not too close. "A curse?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she whispered. "They said I was touched by something forbidden, that I carry what must not be carried. They say it will spread, that it will destroy. That is why they covered me. That is why they cast me out. And now, if they find me again, they will never let me walk free." Her words fell heavy between them. For the first time, she lifted her head enough that the fabric shifted near her cheek. The human caught the faintest glimpse of her skin glowing. Beneath, a delicate pattern that looked almost like writing or stars painted across her body. His heart thudded louder in his chest. He could not stop himself from whispering, "It's not a curse. It's extraordinary." Her body froze. For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the wind weaving through the stone corridors. She seemed unable to reply, as if those words were too foreign, too impossible for her to accept. Then the sound returned, footsteps, closer now, no longer soft but certain. The girl gasped and turned sharply. Fear ran through her whole body. "They are here. They will find us." The human moved closer this time, ignoring her warning. "Then come with me. We can move before they reach this place." She looked at him, torn between disbelief and desperation. "Why? Why do you keep saying that? You do not know what you are asking. If you stay near me, they will see you as they see me. They will call you what they call me. His eyes held hers firmly, even through the shadows. I don't care what they call me. Her lips parted slightly under the cloth, as if she could not understand his stubbornness. For so long she had lived with shame, with rejection, with whispers that pushed her further and further away from others. And yet here was someone who did not flinch, someone who looked at her glow not with fear, but with wonder. The footsteps drew nearer, the sound bouncing off the ruined walls. Dust slipped from the cracks above them. She trembled harder, torn between running and staying frozen. The human stretched his hand out again, steady and patient. "Trust me," he said. Her breath shook as she looked at the hand, then at his face. The cloth slipped just a little more as her fingers trembled toward him. For an instant, more of her skin was revealed, the glow shining brighter now, tracing across her arm in delicate streams of light. The human's eyes widened, his heart pounding faster, not from fear but from awe. She saw the way he looked at her, and for the first time, there was no rejection in his eyes, no disgust, only silence, and something she could not name. Her fingers brushed against his, fragile and hesitant, but real. And in that moment, though the shadows of the ruins grew darker and the footsteps of her pursuers grew nearer, she felt something she had never felt before. A spark of hope. The ruins grew heavier with silence as the footsteps faded into the distance. The girl stayed close to the wall, still holding the cloth around herself as if it were the only shield she had left in the world. Her hand had touched the human's only for a moment, and already she pulled back, hiding once again. But that brief contact still lingered between them, like a spark that refused to disappear. The human studied her quietly. He could still see the faint glow where the cloth had slipped before. A light too beautiful to be forgotten. It pulsed faintly beneath the fabric, as though the truth wanted to break free. No matter how much she tried to hide it. "You don't have to cover yourself from me," he said softly. His voice was calm, steady, without judgment. Her head bowed lower, and her reply came in a whisper. "You don't understand. If you see all of me, you will turn away. You will see what they saw." The human took a step closer, careful not to startle her. "Then let me decide for myself." The girl's fingers tightened around the cloth. Her body trembled as though those words were heavier than any chains. She shook her head slowly. "It is not that simple. My people, they called me marked. They said my blood is not pure. They said my body carries something unnatural. They told me I must hide or be cast out forever." Her voice broke, fragile and soft. The ruins seemed to echo her sorrow, holding her words in the air as if they did not want to let them go. The human's chest tightened. He could hear the years of rejection in every syllable. "And so you believed them?" he asked gently. Her silence answered more than her words ever could. For a long time, neither of them moved. Then, with trembling hands, she loosened the cloth. Just slightly, not enough to reveal everything, but enough for him to see the glow shimmering along her arm. It moved like living light, curling into shapes that looked almost like stars, or rivers of fire drawn beneath her skin. The human's breath caught. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Not something broken, not something cursed, something extraordinary. But her voice came quickly, almost desperate. "Do not say what you are thinking. I know what it looks like. To you, maybe it is strange. To me, it is the reason I was left alone." He shook his head slowly. "No, it's not strange. It's beautiful." Her entire body stilled. The cloth slipped further as her hand dropped weakly to her side. She lifted her face toward him, and for the first time, he saw her eyes. They were bright, but filled with disbelief, as if no one had ever spoken such words to her before. "You don't mean that," she whispered. "I do," he replied. "What they feared, I see as light." Her lips parted, and a faint sound escaped her, half gasp, half sigh. The cloth slipped again, and this time she did not stop it. The fabric slid from her shoulder and down her arm, revealing the glowing patterns across her skin. They were not scars, not wounds. They were symbols, lines of energy, flowing across her like rivers of living fire. The human's heart raced as he watched. It was as if she carried a piece of the stars within her. The glow was not wild, not dangerous. It was steady, pulsing softly, breathing with her. But she lowered her gaze quickly, ashamed of her own body. This is why I am not clean. This is what they could not accept. They said my presence brings ruin. They said anyone close to me will be changed. The human stepped closer, his voice firm but gentle. You are not ruin. You are more alive than any of them. She stared at him, silent, uncertain, as if she could not believe his words were real. The ruins around them groaned as the wind pushed through broken walls. In the distance, the faint sound of movement returned, a reminder that others were still searching. But inside this quiet corner, time seemed to pause. Slowly, carefully. The girl let the cloth fall further. Now more of her body was revealed, the glowing patterns climbing across her shoulders, curling around her neck, tracing lines. Down her arms, she stood trembling, waiting for him to recoil, waiting for the disgust she had seen in every other face. But the human did not move away. His eyes held hers, calm and steady. Even as his breath grew short at the sight, "You're not cursed," he whispered. "You're a miracle." Her chest rose and fell sharply, her eyes glistening. She shook, her head faintly, almost in protest, but her voice broke into a whisper. "Why do you say that? No one has ever," she trailed off, unable to finish. He stepped closer, close enough that the glow of her markings reflected faintly in his eyes. "Because it's the truth, and because I don't see what they told you to believe. I see someone who should never have been left alone." The cloth slipped completely from her hands then, falling softly to the ground. For the first time, she stood without her covering, her secret revealed fully. The glow spread across her entire form, shining like constellations carved into living skin. And the human's heart did stop for a moment, not from fear, but from awe. The girl lowered her eyes, bracing herself for rejection. But instead, she heard his voice, quiet and filled with wonder. "You are not unclean. You are the most beautiful being I have ever seen." Her breath trembled. For the first time in her life, she did not feel like a shadow. She felt seen. And deep in the ruins, the sound of searching grew louder once again. The night outside the station had gone quiet. But inside the room where the human and the alien girl sat, silence carried more weight than words. She sat near the window, the faint glow of the stars reflecting in her pale eyes. He watched her carefully, noticing how she held herself, as if some invisible burden pressed her down. For a long time, neither spoke, yet the air between them was thick with things unspoken. Finally, she turned to him and asked in a soft voice, "Why do you still stay with me, human? You saw my secret, you heard my words. Why didn't you walk away?" He leaned forward, his hands folded, searching for the right reply. "Because what you carry inside you doesn't make you less. It just makes you different. And maybe that's why I'm still here." Her lips parted slightly, almost as if she wanted to argue, but the words stayed trapped. Instead, she looked away again, her gaze falling on her reflection in the glass. To her, the reflection was a reminder of what she believed. She had lost her worth, her purity, her place among her people. But when she turned her head and saw him sitting there, not flinching, not leaving, she felt a new question rise inside. Could she believe him? Could she trust a human with the truth of what she was? The minutes stretched, but she finally began to speak. Her voice trembled at first, but each sentence carried more strength. She told him of the traditions of her world, of how her people believed anyone like her, anyone who carried what she carried, was unfit for closeness, unfit for trust, unfit for love. She told him of the stares she had endured, of the whispers that followed her since childhood. He listened without breaking eye contact, every word pressing against his heart. When she finished, silence filled the room once more. This time, however, it wasn't heavy. It was fragile, like something waiting to break or to bloom. He reached out carefully, not to take her hand, but simply to let his presence rest near hers. "Your people may have told you those things," he said gently, "but that doesn't mean they're true. Sometimes, the ones closest to us are the ones who see us the least. I see you, not your secret, not your scars, you." Her throat tightened, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever looked past the image she carried. For the first time, she let herself meet his eyes fully. In them, She saw no judgment, no fear, only something steady, something she could lean on her still. Deep inside, a storm swirled. Could she allow herself to trust him if she stepped closer? If she opened more of her hidden truth, would he still stay, or would the weight finally push him away, like it had pushed everyone else before? The question remained unspoken as the stars outside burned brighter against the darkness. She wanted to test him, to see if his words were more than kindness. She wanted to show him the part of herself she had never revealed to anyone. But fear still held her in place. She lowered her gaze and whispered, "If I tell you everything, if I show you what I hide, will you still look at me the same way?" The human's answer did not come with hesitation. His voice was calm, certain. "I will." Those two words echoed inside her, soft but powerful, shaking the walls she had built around herself for so long. She didn't know yet if she believed him, but she knew one thing she wanted to try, and as the night deepened, she found herself closer to him than ever before, not in distance, but in trust. The secret she once thought would push him away had become the very bridge that brought him nearer. Would he truly stay when she revealed it all? That, she knew, would be tested soon. But for the first time, the thought didn't terrify her. It gave her hope. The night had grown quiet, and the campfire burned low, throwing soft light across the clearing. The human sat close to her, not too near, but not far enough to seem distant. The alien girl looked at him with a strange softness in her eyes, as if she was finally at peace. For so long, she had carried the weight of her secret, the shame she thought would push everyone away. Yet here he was, still by her side, as if nothing about her past had changed the way he saw her. She lowered her gaze and touched the small pendant hanging from her neck. Its glow faint in the firelight. It was a mark of her people, a reminder of what she had been forced to carry. Her voice was quiet, almost like the first time she whispered to him, "I thought when I told you, you would turn away." The human leaned back, looking at the stars above. "You thought wrong," he said softly. His tone was steady, simple, yet it carried weight. "What you went through doesn't change who you are right now. And who you are is someone worth standing with." Her lips trembled, not with fear this time, but with something closer to relief. For the first time, she let herself believe that maybe she was no longer alone. She leaned closer, her shoulder brushing his, and for a while, neither spoke. The silence was not heavy but gentle, filled with trust that did not need words. The fire crackled, and she closed her eyes, whispering, "You are different from anyone I've ever known." He turned to her, a faint smile playing on his face. "Maybe that's what makes us human," he said. "We see beyond what's broken." The alien girl's heart ached in a way that was both new and healing. She had thought her secret would forever define her, but now she saw it didn't have to. Someone had finally shown her that her scars were not chains, they were proof she had survived. That night, under the wide sky, something unspoken tied them together. It wasn't a promise, and it wasn't a confession, but it was strong enough to change them both. For in her quiet breath and his steady presence, they found what neither had known they were searching for, a place where the weight of the past no longer held them down. And as the stars shimmered like silent witnesses above, she whispered once more, though this time it was different, "Thank you for staying."